Hey, Cal here, and in this video we're going to talk about the due diligence steps that you need to take when investing in a mortgage note. Now, it doesn't matter if this is your first note or you've been doing this for a long time and it's like your 100th note. These are things that you need to do for every deal that you're considering pulling the trigger on, basically so you don't lose money, right? We want to be getting as much information up front as we can so that we can make our bids and price it correctly so that when we buy that investment, we're actually going to profit from it. And we have the proper security and exit plan in place so that if something goes wrong, we've got alternative ways of getting out of the deal without losing money and profiting at the same time. All right, so number one, we want to look at the location of the property that's securing the note. Okay, so a mortgage note is always going to be, or in most cases, going to be secured to a piece of real estate. Okay, so I always want to look first at the location of where that piece of real estate, and for me, it's usually a single family home. But it could be a commercial property or something as well. But I want to look at the size of the center that piece of property is in. Okay, so I stay away from anything out in the boonies, anything really rural, I'm not interested in. And in most cases, I'm looking at things that are houses that are located in towns of at least 15 to 20,000 people. The reason for that is I want to be able to have access to handymen, tradespeople, plumbers, inspectors, real estate agents, all of those people that can help me because I'm investing remotely. If I ever have to take that property back, if I have to take ownership of the property through foreclosure or a deed in lieu, I want to make sure that I can actually get people to help me to clean that property up or do repairs or remodel it or whatever, sell it. Okay, if I'm in the middle of nowhere and my assets like on some farm in the middle of Iowa, it's really going to be hard to get people out to that property and it's going to be expensive. Okay. The other reason I want to invest in notes where there's a larger center around is because I want to have options for my borrower, okay? So if I'm buying a performing note and my borrower loses their job and it's a town of 10 people, the odds of them getting a new job might be pretty low. But if they're in a large city, of 1 million people, then they could probably find another job and hopefully keep paying on their note, right? So we want to be in places that are going to be advantageous to our borrowers as well as us as a note investor. All right, the other thing is I want to do a drive-by, so I want to get eyes on the property. I want to have someone take some photos of it just so I can see the condition of the property and how well the borrower treats that property. Maybe I can tell if it's vacant or not. Maybe it's been vandalized. Maybe it's half burned down. I've seen that before. So you want to get eyes on the property, get someone to drive by. So that's establishing the value and the condition of the collateral. But we also want to check the borrower. Okay, we want to get an idea of the borrower's track record, their payment history, their habits. You can get a lot of information even about their financial situation based on their performance on that loan so far. Okay, and so how we do that is we want to request the payment history from the servicing company that's handling the mortgage for the note seller. Okay, so most banks and note investors will have a servicing company do the day-to-day, reaching out to the borrower, collecting payments. They do all the bookkeeping. And so we want to get the payment history, and they should have it for at least the last 12 months, if not longer. I'd prefer much longer. But you want to be able to see how often they're making their payments. And are they making them on time? Are they consistently late in their payments? Do they miss payments? Then go like a few months and then they pay like, a triple payment or a double payment, and then they go again without paying, and then they pay a big clump again. So we want to be able to establish kind of what their habits are and how good of a borrower they are. And you can tell a lot just by their payment history, okay? And if it's a non-performing note, we want to know, have they stopped paying for the last 2 years, 5 years? Maybe they've moved out and maybe the owners are deceased, or maybe they are showing signs that they're trying to get caught up again. They had some hardship, but now they're trying to get caught up. So, maybe making extra payments here and there, trying to get back on track, okay? So you can see kind of their motivation for wanting to stay in the home as well. And then we also want to request the servicing notes and the communication log, if possible, between that servicing company and the borrower. And that way you can see, is the borrower responsive? Are they communicating regularly with the servicing company about making their payments? Are they belligerent and hard to deal with? So you can get so much information based on that, okay? The other thing is we want to do a title search. And we want to check and make sure that the borrower that's on the note is the same person that's now owns that house, that it hasn't been deeded over to somebody else, okay? We also want to make sure that there's no issues in the transfer of that mortgage from one bank or lender to another, right? When someone buys a mortgage, like when I buy a note, I'm going to be getting that note assigned to me from the previous bank or note holder. So we want to make sure there's no gaps or issues in the assignment chain as that note has been sold from one bank to another, okay? Now, property taxes are another thing we need to check and make sure. We want to know, have property taxes been paid? And if not, we want to go in and factor our bid and lower our bid down for the amount that we would have to pay to get those property taxes current again. The reason we care so much about property taxes is because even if we're buying a first lien position mortgage note, if the taxes aren't paid, and I think every state and every county, that county has the legal right to foreclose out from under you, even if you have the first lien position, okay? So that's a big risk. We don't want to lose our asset by having the county foreclose out the property out from under us, okay? So that's a big risk we want to make sure we don't have to deal with. So we want to make sure taxes are paid, and if not, we're going to lower our bid because we're going to have to pay them when we buy that note, or maybe make it a condition that we won't close on the note until the borrower has paid the taxes, or the current lender. All right, a couple other things I look for if the note is non-performing, where the borrowers haven't been making their payments, is has foreclosure started? Has the current lender who owns the note right now, have they started the foreclosure process? And if so, how far along are they? Okay, did they just start the process, or are they almost finished? Is the auction date set in a month or two? Okay, because that's going to be very different based on your timelines and how long you're going to be waiting to foreclose on that property if that's the case. Okay, so we want to get as much information. We want to reach out to the attorney that's foreclosing and get as much information ahead of time about the foreclosure process. Okay, or maybe they haven't started foreclosing and we need to know that so that we can prepare to foreclose if that's our main exit plan with that note. And also check bankruptcy, because if the borrowers are not able to pay their mortgage payments, they're probably behind on a lot of their other debt as well. And it's important to know if they're in the process of bankruptcy or not. And I'll record another video all about bankruptcy very soon. So those are some of the main things I look for and make sure that I get a good feel for before I close on that note. It's very important that you, especially the property value, before you set your bids, you want to make sure you've got some equity typically and you know the value of the asset. And then you want to know if that borrower is making payments or not, because it's going to be a very different exit plan when you buy that note based on their performance history and payment history. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for all of you that are just getting started investing in mortgage notes. Give this channel a subscribe and a like. And if you've got any questions about this whole process of due diligence when investing in mortgage notes, leave your questions below and I'm happy to answer them.